The skin hangs in shreds from his motionless body. The silence is broken by the squeaking of rats. He slowly approaches the corpse, hanging from the chains, and with a sharp movement tears off the skin, half separated from the body. The white soft chunk reluctantly falls away from the meat, but he doesn't think to end there. On the contrary, he has just begun. He likes it, it amuses him. The disgusting sound of skin tearing, which would make a normal person faint and sick, he only likes, as does the incessant squeaking of the rats and the smell of rotting meat. He approaches him from the front and with the tip of his knife carefully traces patterns on his breathless, naked body. Suddenly he plunges the knife into his chest. In the hours that follow, he carefully rips and fiddles with his chest. He opens it, takes out his heart, and then sews up the skin at the sight of this surgical intervention into his inner world, but the dead man no longer cares. He sits down behind the suspended man and begins sketching the dead man from the back, deftly transferring to a sheet of paper the bloody patterns drawn on his back by the same artist. He breathes in the air, damp, musty, with the smell of rotting meat and dead rats. When he finishes painting, he removes the lifeless body from its chains, places it on a chair and draws patterns on its belly, then places its heart in his hands. "Beauty demands sacrifice," he murmured softly, sitting down and continuing to draw. "You were a horrible person, but thanks to me you have become beautiful, you have become a work of art. Are you satisfied?" The painter circled his face on the paper. "I see I am." He draws his knife with a smile from ear to ear. He has two passions, to kill and to paint. He finds both beautiful. It's a pity no one understands him. And for the sake of that, those who cannot understand, he kills and then draws. If people don't understand his art, he turns it into art himself.
My name is Sasha, I'm finishing 11th grade, I'm an ordinary kid, unremarkable. That day I was late for school and was walking home at night. It was dark and walking was a bit uncomfortable. On the way home I saw a large chest standing near my house. By nature I am very curious and decided to take it home. When I got home, I opened it. There was nothing special in it except a piece of paper with a text in a language I did not understand, but I recognized that it was Latin. I translated the text, and its contents were as follows: "He who reads shall perish, and his torment shall be severe, for all things must be paid for." I was terrified and frightened, but I could hardly sleep. In the morning I woke up with cuts and bruises, but there were no signs of violence. In the morning I learned that my two best friends were dead, my dog had been run over, and my parents had gone to an unknown place. I went to school, came home, and lost consciousness. I woke up in an empty room, with a chair and a TV in front of me. Without controlling myself, I sat down on the chair, the TV turned on, there was my picture, and they started killing me, cutting me with a rusty hacksaw, stabbing me with blunt nails. I was in tears, but I watched and could not stop. After that, the silhouette of a terrifying creature appeared, with empty eyes that were covered by a veil. He began to speak. The language was a Latvian. After that I woke up and was lying on my bed with a note in my hand. There was a new note: "This is only the beginning. Everyone will die and you will be left to rot in this world." I started going to church, it went away, but when I got home, there was that box on my doorstep that said, "Did you miss me?"
You were away from home over the weekend. When you return home, you find that there are many letters in the mailbox. There are about 30 of them, and each letter has your name and address on it, but for some reason some of the letters are written across the envelope and in red paint. They reek of rotting meat and decaying garbage. Of course you don't want to carry them into the house, but curiosity is stronger than the unpleasant, nauseating smell. When you get home, you carefully pour them into the kitchen sink so as not to stain the entire apartment. From the whole pile you pull out a more or less clean and neat letter. Inside are pictures. They show complete strangers with their throats cut, eyes gouged out, teeth knocked out, bellies ripped open and entrails spilling out. What you see makes your eyes gloomy, and you frantically open the rest of the letters, and soon you find yourself with an impressive collection of photographs of brutally murdered people. Bodies with severed limbs, corpses on surgical tables, disemboweled organs, naked bodies of children hanging, bleeding. On some of the letters you find dirt and blood stains. You open each letter, and more familiar faces appear before you. Some you encountered at work, others you went to school with. In recent letters you find pictures of the mutilated bodies of your close friends and relatives. And now you pick up the last letter. You cannot understand the content of the letter, but you have no choice. When you open the envelope, you recognize in the picture that fell out yourself. You are alive, your eyes are fine, your arms and legs are in place. The picture was taken at the front door of your house, right in front of the driveway where you picked up the disgusting mail. And when you hear the door to your room open, you pass out. We all know what a cannibal is. There are not enough words to convey all the horror and disgust. Omaima Ari Nelson, the woman who 20 years ago killed, boiled and ate her 56-year-old husband Philip. Omaima killed and ate Philip just a week after her wedding. She had come from Egypt 5 years before committing the crime. In Egypt she worked as a model. According to the case file, Omaima boiled some of her husband's body parts and roasted his hands in an oven in oil. Omaima ate her husband's meat by dipping it in barbecue sauce. Police arrested her after finding chalked up body parts in trash cans near the house and in the family Corvette. Omaima claims her husband raped and abused her at the couple's apartment in Costa Mesa the day before she was eaten. However, this did not exonerate the woman. She is now serving a life sentence in Chowchilla Prison in California. A resident of Brno purchased a baby monitor from a used appliance store to monitor his child. When the device was connected to a monitor and turned on, the man froze in shock. The screen showed pictures of the neighbor's children, naked and chained up. The man immediately reported the terrible discovery to the police, and the police arrived at the residence address of 31-year-old Clara Morova. On the spot, they found out the terrible things. The woman, according to preliminary information, belonged to a certain sect and had long abused her two sons, 7-year-old Andrea and 9-year-old Jacob. She kept them naked and tied up in the basement for a long time, beat them and deprived them of food and water. Moreover, she literally cut pieces of meat out of the boys' bodies with a knife and ate them. According to Clara, she was taken under control by her buddy, 34-year-old Barbara Skrilova. According to the Sun, the lady had similarly abused her adopted 13-year-old daughter. According to preliminary reports, both women were involved in a kind of Grail movement about which so far all we know is that it is led by a certain doctor. It is probable that several other members of this horrible association are now in hiding in Norway.